In the heart of a small forgotten village stood an abandoned school, sealed shut for more than 20 years. Its cracked walls, broken windows, and creeping vines made it look like the skeleton of a place once filled with life. Yet, the villagers swore that at night, a faint bell still echoed from inside. They whispered that no human hand touched it, and that it rang only when something unspeakable stirred within those halls. No one dared to go near after dark. Children were warned never to play around the gates, and travelers passing by would cross themselves, quickening their steps. The mystery of the bell became a tale of warning, a legend of cursed history. But for some, it was an invitation. 5 friends, young and bold, decided to uncover the truth. They laughed at the warnings, calling them silly village superstitions. One night, under the pale glow of the moon, they crossed the rusty gates and entered the silent school. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of ashes lingered as if the fire that consumed the building decades ago still smoldered. And then, the silence grew heavy, as if the walls themselves were waiting. The 5 friends, Asim, Bilal, Danish, Fiza, and Sarah, were known in the village for their daring adventures. Whenever someone spoke of ghosts or curses, they would laugh it off, mocking the old beliefs that kept everyone else in fear. When they heard the tale of the last bell, they decided to prove it false. Gathering one evening at the edge of the village, they planned their night inside the abandoned school. Bilal carried a flashlight, Danish brought his camera to record proof, and Fiza, though hesitant, agreed only because she didn't want to look weak. Sarah, the most curious of them all, insisted they would find nothing but dust and rats. Asim, the leader of the group, declared boldly, "Tonight, we end this ghost story." The villagers tried to stop them, warning, "Those who enter never return." But the friends only laughed, their voices echoing down the empty road as they pushed open the rusted school gates. Inside, the darkness was suffocating. Their flashlights cut through thick layers of cobwebs and peeling paint. The silence was so deep it pressed on their ears. Somewhere in the distance, a faint metallic sound rang, soft, hollow, and chilling. The bell had welcomed them. As they moved deeper into the school, the weight of silence pressed harder on their chests. Every step echoed unnaturally, as if the building itself was listening. Danish, holding the camera, stayed a few steps ahead, joking nervously, "Maybe the ghost will give us an interview." His laugh bounced through the corridor, then stopped abruptly. The others looked up. Danish was gone. No scream, no struggle, not even footsteps leading away. The camera lay in the dust, still recording. When Asim picked it up, his hands shook. The screen showed a horrifying clip. Danish's face, pale and frightened, whispering words too distorted to understand. His eyes darted left, right, and then he vanished from the frame, leaving behind only static. Fiza gasped and pointed at the floor. Beside the camera lay a crumpled, burned paper. It was a school report card. The name written on it chilled them to the bone. Danish Iqbal, Class 6. The date read 20 years ago, the exact year of the fire. How can his name be here? Sarah whispered. The air grew heavy, colder than before. Then, from the darkness above, a metallic chime rang through the school. The old bell had begun to toll. The bell rang again, louder this time, vibrating through the cracked walls and dusty floorboards. Each toll carried a strange weight, like invisible hands pressing on their chests. The friends clutched their ears, but it wasn't just sound. It was inside them, echoing in their minds, drowning out every other thought. Then, through the flicker of their flashlights, shadows began to move. At first, they thought it was smoke, curling and twisting in the air. But soon the shapes became clear, dozens of children, faint and transparent, seated in rows as if a class were still in session. Their heads bowed, their lips moving silently, answering questions from a teacher who wasn't there. Sarah's light froze on one shadow, a small boy at a broken desk. His charred hands clutched a burnt notebook. Suddenly, his head jerked up, and his hollow eyes locked on hers. The bell tolled again. One by one, every shadow lifted its head and turned toward the intruders. Fiza screamed as the ghostly children began to rise, their movements jerky, unnatural, like marionettes pulled by unseen strings. The air filled with the smell of smoke and burning flesh. The school was no longer empty. It was alive again, waiting for them. Panic spread through the group as the ghostly children closed in. Desperate for answers, Asim forced open the door to the old record room at the end of the hall. The heavy lock gave way with a snap, and a wave of suffocating heat poured out, as if the fire from years ago still burned within. Inside, rows of charred files and half-burned registers lay scattered. Fiza picked up a dusty book, her hands trembling as she flipped through its pages. The words were faded but still legible. Incident report, 20 years ago. Her voice shook as she read aloud. The fire began during morning assembly. The exits were locked. None of the children survived. Sarah grabbed another file and gasped. Each page carried the names of the dead. They searched frantically until they froze in terror. Their own names were written there. Asim, Bilal, Danish, Fiza, Sarah, listed among the victims, as if they had died 2 decades ago with the others. The bell rang again, shaking the walls. From the corner of the room, a whisper drifted. "We were waiting for you." Suddenly, the shadows of children filled the doorway, their eyes glowing like embers in the dark. The 5 friends bolted from the record room, their flashlights swinging wildly across the crumbling walls. The ghostly children followed, their faces expressionless, their movements unnatural, faster with every toll of the bell. They rushed to the main entrance, but when Asim yanked the heavy doors, they refused to budge. It was as if the school itself was alive, trapping them inside. The windows they smashed sealed back instantly, glass reforming before their eyes. Panic turned to terror. One by one, the friends began to vanish. Bilal, running ahead, was swallowed by darkness mid-step, gone before anyone could reach him. His scream echoed only for a second, then silence. Fiza tried to drag Sarah along, but a dozen shadowy hands reached out from the walls, pulling her in, her face disappearing into the plaster as though she'd never existed. Only Asim and Sarah remained. Hearts pounding, they stumbled toward the old assembly hall where the bell hung high above, its ropes swaying as if pulled by unseen hands. The sound grew unbearable, each toll louder, sharper, sinking into their very bones. Asim shouted, "We have to destroy it." But the bell rang again, and Sarah's flashlight died. They were standing in pure darkness, except for the glowing eyes watching from every corner. The assembly hall trembled as the bell tolled one last time. Its sound was deafening now, shaking the very air, making Sarah collapse to her knees. Asim staggered forward, eyes locked on the massive iron bell that swung above them. Its cracked surface glowed faintly, as though fire still burned within it. Determined, Asim climbed the broken stage and grabbed the rope. "If I destroy this, we'll be free," he shouted. He pulled with all his strength. The bell shuddered, cracked, and with a final desperate tug, it crashed to the ground, ringing out one thunderous chime. But freedom never came. Instead, the shadows froze, staring. Slowly, their faces twisted into smiles. Sarah's scream echoed as she saw Asim's body change, his eyes turning hollow, blood streaming from them, his mouth locked open in a silent cry. The bell's fragments melted into his flesh, binding him to the school forever. Sarah turned to run, but the doors burst open on their own. Outside, villagers gathered, staring in horror. In the morning light, a new portrait had appeared on the school wall. It showed all 5 friends, seated neatly among the ghostly children, smiling, their eyes lifeless. The last bell had claimed its students,